You're looking to cut through the noise, get the essential info fast, right?
Yeah, I think we all are these days.
Exactly. So that's what we're doing today. We're going deep on DISC. It's the second token, and maybe the more provocative one, in this planned trilogy for 2025.
Right. It follows RRK, and just so everyone's clear, that's ARK, like Noah's Ark.
ARK, got it. So where are we getting our intel for this deep dive?
Okay, so we've got two main things. First, transcripts from a recent online audio chat. The creators, early community folks, they really got into what DISC is supposed to be.
Okay.
And second, we're pulling from the DISC white paper itself. The title, Disclosure. Pretty fitting, right?
Disclosure, yeah, sets a certain tone. So our mission today.
Straightforward, really. Get a solid handle on DISC. What's its purpose? How does it actually work? The mechanics? And what's this community focus about?
And critically, how does it fit with RRK, with ARK, and this whole trilogy idea?
Exactly. That relationship seems key.
All right, let's start at the beginning. The announcement, how did that go down? What's the timeline?
Yeah. Well, the announcement was super low-key, almost cryptic, which, you know, maybe tells you something right there.
How so?
May 8th, 2025, just a quick message pops up. At Disclosure Coin DISC leaks on 5/8/2025, 20.00 CST. That was pretty much it.
Wow, okay. Leaks.
Yeah. And the pre-sale kicked off immediately after that. Ran for just 5 days, tight window.
5 days only.
Yep. Ended midnight Central Time, May 13th, 2025.
So blink and you miss it, almost. What happens after the pre-sale wraps up?
The pace keeps up. Airdrops for the pre-sale folks and public trading both start May 15th, 2025, 8 p.m. Central Time.
Okay, May 15th.
And they're doing a live launch event, too, in one of those online audio spaces, trying to build that community feel from the jump.
Definitely sounds like they want people engaged right away. Now, for those who did get into that quick pre-sale, what were the details? How did it work?
Okay, the price was 1 SOL per ounce SOL. For anyone new, gets you 2 million DISC.
1 SOL for 2 million.
But interestingly, they had another way in, specifically for RK holders. Remember, or RK ARK, the first token.
Right, the savings account one.
Exactly. If you held 750,000 ARK, you could swap that for 2 million DISC too.
Ah, so a direct benefit for holding the first token connects them.
Yeah, it's a smart way to reward the early crowd and, you know, tie the trilogy together from the start.
Makes sense. How many people could get in? Any hoops to jump through, like KYC or forms?
No, surprisingly simple. It was limited, only 300 pre-sale spots. They gave updates on Twitter about how many were left.
300 spots total.
Okay. And the rules were dead simple. 1 transaction per wallet. Use SOL, SOL, or use ARK, ARK, your choice. But no forms, no ID checks, none of that.
Streamlined.
Very. And they guaranteed everyone who participated gets at least 2 million in DISC in the airdrop. Now, here's a key bit for the community angle.
Yeah.
Any DISC tokens that didn't sell in the pre-sale, they didn't just disappear. They went straight into the community rewards wallet.
Oh, interesting. So even if the pre-sale wasn't maxed out, those tokens feed back into the ecosystem.
Exactly. To incentivize community stuff later on.
Okay, good transition. Let's get into the fundamentals then, the tokenomics. What does DISC actually look like structurally?
All right. Total supply is fixed. 1 billion DISC. That's it.
1 billion.
And the white paper is very clear. No inflation, no more minting, no hidden team stashes somewhere.
Okay, fixed supply. How's it split up?
Up to 60% was for that pre-sale we just talked about. Then a big chunk, 20%, goes into the liquidity pool.
The LP, right. How's that set up?
That 20%, which is 200 million DISC, gets paired with 100 SOL right at launch.
Okay, 200 million DISC to 100 SOL. What does that mean for the price?
It sets the initial trading price at, let's see, 0.000005 SOL per DISC. So very low starting price.
It's a tiny fraction of the SOL. And when does that LP go live?
Same time as everything else kicks off, May 15th, 2025, 8 p.m. Central Time. Goes live with the airdrops and trading start.
And just quickly, that LP pairing, 200 M DISC with only 100 SOL, that sounds like it could move fast.
Oh, yeah. That relatively small amount of SOL paired with a lot of DISC means even, you know, moderate buys or sells could swing the price quite a bit, especially early on. Volatility seems baked in.
Right. Sets the stage for volatility, like you said. What about the team's share and the rest of the tokens?
The team allocated 6% to themselves. They've been transparent about it, apparently. Labeled their wallets publicly.
Public wallets. Okay.
Yeah.
Any schedule for how they'll use it?
No announced schedule for their activity or token use yet. We'll have to see.
And the rest. After pre-sale, LP, and team.
That all goes into the community rewards wallet we mentioned. And since the pre-sale didn't sell out fully, that wallet could actually hold a lot more than initially planned. Maybe around 40% instead of the 16% originally mapped out.
40%. Wow, okay. That's significant. And what's the intended use for those community rewards?
The white paper calls it funding for information warfare.
Information warfare. Seriously.
Yeah, it's strong language. They list things like rewarding leaks, finding patterns, rogue research, creating mimetic disruption, think of viral content that shakes things up, and building narratives that challenge the mainstream.
Okay, that is definitely a specific vision. It really paints a picture.
Yeah.
So beyond the numbers, how do the creators talk about DISC itself? What's the philosophy?
They call it a meme coin, camouflaged in plain language.
Camouflage.
Yeah, like it looks straightforward, but it's designed to be something else. Engineered specifically to be volatile, visible, and totally unfiltered. They call it a live signal.
A live signal.
Right.
Okay. Any specific features or lack thereof?
Big things they avoided. No transaction taxes, no gates or hurdles to participate, no forced disclosures from users.
Interesting.
And they really double down on the risk aspect. There's this line, no treasury, there is no backstop, no one will save you.
Whoa, that's blunt. No safety net at all.
Pretty much. It's a direct, almost confrontational message. Not your typical crypto project promising stability and gain.
Definitely not. It sounds almost defiant.
I think that's fair. They say explicitly Denon A to C is meant to rupture and break open things. Not for comfort, not trying to convince the masses in the usual way.
Rupture what exactly?
Existing information flows, consensus reality maybe. They frame it as a mimetic weapons project.
A weapon.
Their words. Focused on interfering with consensus. It's a deliberate move away from stability, aiming to be a catalyst, even if that means high risk. It's definitely a different take on, community and narrative building in crypto.
A catalyst for disruption, not preservation. Okay, now you keep mentioning the trilogy. RK ARC first, DIC second. How do they actually relate? What's the connection?
So RA ARC, the first one, that was positioned as the slow mover, like you said, the savings account in the crypto world. Stable, steady, or at least aiming for that.
Right.
DSC is the polar opposite by design. It's meant to be the trading account. Fast-paced, high volatility expected. Two different tools in the same box.
Savings versus trading. Clear analogy. Did anything specific about RK's design influence DISC?
Yeah, definitely. RK had mechanics built in specifically to prevent crazy stuff like, a 99x pump overnight, or huge imbalances in the liquidity pool where one big sell could crash everything.
So RK tried to dampen volatility.
Exactly, and RK seems designed to embrace it, or at least allow for it. Plus, as we said, holding RK gave you that alternate way into the DRSC presale.
Rewarding the RK holders.
Right, rewarding those early believers and creating that direct link between token 1 and token 2. A clear strategy there.
So it builds loyalty across the trilogy. Let's circle back to that community rewards wallet. With potentially 40% of all DRSC in there, that's going to be hugely important, right?
Absolutely massive. Yeah, because the presale didn't sell out, it could be around 40%, way more than the maybe 16% they initially thought.
And that 40% is all earmarked for this disclosure stuff.
That's the plan. Rewarding activities that push disclosure, like we mentioned. Finding leaks, pattern recognition, independent research, they call it, rogue research, making memes that disrupt narratives, building stories that escape containment.
It's a very active mandate for the community. How do they plan to manage and give out these rewards? How do you keep that transparent and avoid, misuse?
Transparency seems to be a focus. Most of the tokens will sit in a multi-signature cold wallet.
Okay, so multiple people need to approve transactions.
Exactly. Adds security, reduces risk of one person going rogue or getting hacked. Then they'll use a smaller hot wallet for the actual day-to-day reward distribution.
Makes sense.
The team sees themselves as, custodians. Their goal with these rewards is strategic. Interfere with consensus by incentivizing what they see as truth-seeking.
And how might that look in practice? What kind of rewards?
They've floated ideas like scavenger hunts for info, finding hidden Easter eggs in releases, and definitely rewarding impactful memes, stuff like that. So trying to build an ecosystem where finding and sharing info is directly rewarded by the token itself. Okay, we can't ignore number 3. DISC is token 2. What do the sources say about the third token? The mystery box. It's being teased, right? The third signal, the +1. They're using this number thing. RK is -1, DIC is 0.
So the third is +1? What else?
It's described as the exact opposite of ARC, which, given ARC's stability focus, suggests something else entirely.
Opposite of stability.
Could be. There was even talk of it potentially being a suicide coin.
A suicide coin, what does that even mean?
It implies a design where, theoretically, the developers themselves could get wiped out by the token's mechanics. Like, it could rug the developer.
Yeah.
A total flip of the usual power dynamic.
That is, yeah, pretty intriguing and maybe a bit nuts. What about its purpose and how are they funding it now if the DISC presale wasn't a sellout?
Good question. The original idea, it seems, was that a bigger DISC presale would fund number 3. Since that didn't quite happen, they might need a different plan for funding and building it.
Okay. And who's it for?
It's pitched for those who, quote, built the ARK and weaponized DISC. People who understood ARK's long game and engaged with DISC's disruptive side.
So the dedicated core community.
Seems like it. And its focus isn't preservation like ARK or revelation like DISC, but direction. Maybe guiding the whole thing somewhere.
Direction. Anything else hinted?
Yeah, one more thing. The suppression wallet, a feature from ARK, is apparently coming back for token 3.
Right.
But the purpose is flipped. The hint was not to control, to unleash.
Okay, unleash. That adds another layer of mystery.
Yeah.
So each token sounds incredibly distinct but connected. What about the people behind this? What's their motivation? What's the long game?
They keep hitting the themes of transparency and integrity, saying those are their main gains, not just immediate profit.
Building trust, maybe?
Yeah, they frame it as a long-term play, build trust, build a reputation, maybe launch other projects later based on that foundation.
Look.
And they talk about creating a benevolent whale dynamic.
Benevolent whale, like a big holder who acts for good.
Sort of. The idea is that the team-controlled rewards wallet, being a large holder, will act in the community's best interest using its influence to incentivize good behavior rather than just dumping on the market like you sometimes see with insider wallets. It's a conscious contrast they're trying to draw.
Interesting model, trying to align team and community incentives directly.
Yeah.
Okay, last big area. For anyone listening who's thinking about actually trading DISC when it launches, what should they keep in mind? What did the sources suggest?
The overwhelming message: expect speed. Expect volatility, big swings.
High risk, high reward potential.
Exactly. Potential for big gains, but also, significant losses. They explicitly say it's not recommended as a long-term hold coin.
So more for active traders.
Seems so. Active trading, maybe hedging strategies. Because of how that initial liquidity pool is set up, even moderately large sells could drop the price hard and fast.
Right, that low initial SOL amount.
Yeah. Ultimately, the community's actions, their buying and selling, their sentiment, that's likely going to drive the price action more than anything.
So watch the community chatter.
Definitely. And to help with that, the team apparently plans to host weekly online audio chats, a place for the community to share what they're seeing, what they're learning, figure it out together.
Real-time community learning. Sounds like a high-stakes environment where you need to be plugged in.
Precisely. That seems to be the idea.
Okay, let's try and wrap this all up then. What are the absolute key things people should take away about DISC from this deep dive?
I'd say the main thing is DISC is intentionally built as a volatile trading token. It's number 2 in this 3-part crypto plan that started with RSA, ARK, the stabler one, and it's really driven by community engagement with a huge chunk of tokens set aside to reward, disclosure activities.
And what makes it really stand out from, the thousands of other tokens out there?
A few things, I think. One is the planned connection within the trilogy, how RK, DISC, and the third one are meant to work together. That's ambitious. 2 is the community reward system itself, focusing specifically on information, leaks, memes, interfering with consensus. That's pretty unique.
Yeah, the information warfare angle.
Right. And third, the team's public stance on transparency and this benevolent whale idea, trying to set a different tone for how a project team operates.
Okay, definitely some unique angles. So here's a final thought for you to chew on as you listen. What are the real implications of a crypto project built entirely around this idea of disclosure? How do you even measure success for something like that if it's not just about the price?
Good question.
What does it mean for a digital token to be a signal or a mimetic weapon in today's world? It's going to be fascinating, I think, to watch DISC and the whole trilogy unfold and see if these pretty bold ideas actually play out. Maybe following this story is the real deep dive we should all be on.